Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Honest Look. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever
Good evening.
time it is for you.
Yeah. So this is that time of the year where a lot of things are happening, aren't they, Fatí?
Right. As we spoke about in our last conversation, I have a lot going on. And in fact, right now, I may be just flying over the ocean or just landed somewhere. So we thought about re-airing an old episode that is all centered around time.
Yeah.
Right.
And we reached back, and it turned out to be a very popular episode.
One of our very first episodes,
episode 2021.
Right, 2021. And we find that there's value in that. There's a lot of what we shared in that episode is still true today. And we thought that it would actually give you a good insight into how we have evolved over time. So it's going to be fun for you to watch it. And it's going to have a different logo as well. Don't be confused by that. It's still us.
And there's going to be a little bit of a different look. Between,
right.
Right. Not so much you. I don't think you ever age, but it's
Thank you.
And backgrounds are different, things like that. But anyways, it's about time. That's the episode. It's not about time. The episode is time. And can we actually manage it? So enjoy the show again. Leave us comments, share it, spread the word.
Subscribe, share it with anyone if you found value in it. Help us amplify our impact.
Yeah.
Until next time, have fun with it.
Bye now.
Bye.
I am.
We're live.
It says you are alive, or no, it didn't say that.
No,
it said
you're live.
You are live. Okay, there we go. Yes, we are live. And,
I tried to help you out, Rick.
I know. It's just, when you have one hairstyle.
I fixed it all for you guys today. It did not look like this an hour ago.
I got specially dressed up. I don't know if you can see that. See, I got my Christmas shirt on.
Oh, I see it.
Yes.
Too bad the camera doesn't see it.
What's that?
It's too bad the camera doesn't see it. It's covered by your name.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. My wife will be happy. It's been sitting in the drawer for a while.
Hi, Ken. Hey, welcome.
Ken. Oh, lovely looking hosts. Yes.
Welcome. Ken was one of those love-giving people today.
Oh, was he? Oh, and why was he? It's not your birthday, is it?
No way. Not my birthday at all.
No. Well, I know you might be in denial, but happy birthday, Fatí.
Thank you. And I did try to go about my day as if it wasn't, and people didn't let me. And I'm grateful that they didn't, because it's not like any other day.
No, it is a celebration, and it's like, I know I've had mixed experiences with birthdays. My 30th was probably the weird one. I just was not into it. I don't know what it was about it. I upset at everybody, kind of a thing. Maybe it was my midlife crisis at 30. And I figured,
30, wow.
If that's my midlife, that means by 60.
Wow, you're done.
I'm done. Well, thank goodness I didn't believe in that. But no, it is interesting, and it kind of fits in a little bit of what what we're kind of talking about in time, because birthdays are a marker for people in some regards, right? It's like, oh my goodness.
Marker, yeah.
Yeah, another year gone by, another notch on the belt, whatever, and then the other one is obviously, which is coming up in a few weeks, is New Year's, right? So the flip of the calendar. So there's all these indicators. I'm just thinking of all the indicators we have to tell us that time is running through us or by, whatever you want to call it. Even the countdown timer that we have for this show, right? And how, as you were saying, oh, are we a little anxious? Kind of.
Are you saying I was calling you out on being anxious? No,
Well,
never.
you were just pointing some facts. You were just pointing some facts, right?
Yeah.
But like
But
go
I
ahead.
have to say that, like when you said, let's talk about time, right? I had this whole idea of what I was going to, you know, chip in on my part on this
Yep.
subject, right? Time is a big thing for me. We will get into that, no worries. But it's, because of the timing of this conversation being on my birthday, it really got me thinking about time in a different way, right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
In a very different way in terms of all the people that have reached out to me from really, really, really far, right? And really long friendships that I've had almost, like the great majority of my time, my life now, right?
Mm,
And when you get to say that, that you're kind of getting that towards that midlife, right? I'm getting there. I think it's fair to say closer,
sure.
right?
Sure.
And yeah, I was really thinking about how often I see some of these people, which is not very often, and how much time has not changed anything, right? Especially with the friends that I have in Italy that I grew up with, that I used to ride my Vespa with and do all the crazy things that now I'll be afraid if my kids did.
Mm.
All those things.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just, there's just that bond and that knowing and that, that timelessness to the friendship that you realize how time really doesn't matter. Here we are, I'm like celebrating 45 years of life. And we used to ride Vespas together when we were like 16 years old, right? And it's like, we're the same people. I feel exactly the same way about them. And
Hmm.
time has really left some of those friendships untouched. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. It's that's where time has literally had no effect and has stopped, right? We have all had our lives and gone on in different directions, right?
Yep. Yep.
But the love and the connection that we've had has stayed the same and untouched.
Yeah.
So
It's like that part of it is timeless. Like
it's timeless.
it knows no time, right? I
Yeah.
as humans, I mean, time itself was invented. Like we made up
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this quote about time is what keeps everything from happening once. So, and and so at one time we didn't even have time zones. People just arbitrarily said, "Hey, it's 3 o'clock in Denver right now," and well, it can't be 3 o'clock in Denver because it's 3 o'clock in New York right now, right? And how did the train? So a lot of this came from transportation, right?
Mm-hmm.
To schedule things to like to happen. So time is a measurement. Time is all this kind of stuff. So like when Einstein said time is relative, it really truly is, because there are a lot of things that we experience as timeless. You know,
Timeless, yeah.
I like I not that I want to get really deep, but we can go deep anytime we want, can't we?
Yeah,
Um,
we can. Yes, we
we
can.
we we can have a sense of what the age is of our body, right? Like
Hmm.
we mark it with birthdays, right? I'm 65 and you're 29, ish.
Thank you. I love you. I love you for that. That's okay. I already disclosed my age.
Well, not. Did you say it in public here? No, you don't have to. But
I did. I
did you?
did.
Oh,
I
wow.
did. You're not
Okay.
paying attention.
Okay.
4, 5,
I
45.
well, I knew you were, but anyway.
45 young. I feel very young.
Well, and so that's where I wanted to kind of point out to, because we know we have a consciousness, right? We know we have this soul within us, right? That and that's how we experience what we're experiencing. But when you kind of like try and turn the spotlight towards that direction and put an age on that, like, can you really, determine or indicate how old your soul is? Like what that conscious? No,
No, yeah.
it does not seem to have an age to it. And I find that kind of fascinating in that regard.
I mean, we think we're timeless beings.
True.
There is no age, right?
No.
And as you get older and as you get out of the, the ego and you get more experience and wiser, right? You really connect with a part of you
Yeah.
that's ageless. We're
Yeah.
ageless,
Yeah.
right? What does another year on the calendar really mean to your soul? I don't know. I haven't seen one up close, but I haven't seen any wrinkles in any soul that I've met so far.
Well, that's the other, it's like I physically, I've noticed there's been some changes for me,
And I would challenge that too. What if
Yeah.
you stop believing in that?
Okay, all right, here we go, right? It's like, right. I mean, because I am only experiencing it through the inside, right? So who's to say? Like, I don't even know if what you see is what I see, right? I mean, that's the uniqueness. And I just came from a conference on neurodiversity, and they were talking about that there isn't a brain that's the same. Like they're same functions, but the because we are always experiencing life from our own points of view, from our own unique perspectives, we develop differently. So we're always looking at the world differently, always. And I think that's one of the things, like even when we're talking about time, your experience of time is so different than mine, and naturally so. Naturally so.
And within the same person, the experience of time can greatly vary based on what you're doing,
Oh, well,
right?
and that's the part that is really, because I've noticed, a lot of people talk about, well, okay, well, time management. Like we all get, I think it's 1,440 some odd minutes a day,
Mm.
right? So we all get a bucket of time, right? And we've got all these cute things about, okay, well, I'm going to save time. I'm going to, do, all these different things in the illusion of that we can somehow take time and either expand it or contract it according to what our needs are. But it's really it's finite in that regards. It's got bookends, right? Every 24 hours, the day starts all over again. Period. You don't get to hold on to it and carry it over to the next day.
I tried.
No,
It didn't work.
I think there's a cell phone company that does that, right? You can take the minutes that you didn't use last month and move it over. Wouldn't that be
Roll them over.
Yeah, roll them over, right? It's like I probably would have hopefully maybe 40 years of rollover minutes that I could carry on with, in living. Because again, subjectively, we always look at our time based on what we're doing or what we're accomplishing, if it's valued or not.
What we expect to accomplish in that time.
Well, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like one of the things that, like people are asking me, it's like, so what did you do today? And I, as if doing something validated the day, right? So if I accomplished so much, then that kind of somehow would equate I had a good day, right? So it had nothing to do if I had enjoyed myself doing it, kind of a thing. And I think there's a difference between the doing and what we accomplish in relationship to the time, to how we are enjoying the time or enjoying the moment. Provides the relativity between the speed of what we experience time going through. It's like Einstein said, like if, 1 hour or 1 minute sitting on a tack feels like eternity, but 1 minute with your loved one feels so short, feels like seconds.
Yeah, because it's all relative to the way you're experiencing it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everything. And I do love the reference that you made to like time management and how we have all these expectations of what we are going to get done within this time frame.
Yeah.
There was a quote that I actually posted on my Instagram the other day. It was really great because it spoke to the fact that we are in a culture that really rewards that kind of thinking, right? We're in a culture that rewards the accomplishment, achievement, getting stuff done, getting it all, just clicking it off, like that's really rewarded, right?
Yeah.
And giving yourself breaks and taking care of yourself and self-care is seen as selfish and like what are you doing with your time, right? There's so much, there's a belief system there that needs to be questioned, right? There's a belief
Absolutely.
system there that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
And,
There's a kind of a cute little story about, and actually it came up in a company that I used to work with. Actually, they used this story, and I've heard it several times about the you've heard about the chicken and the egg, or no, that's not the chicken and the egg, the chicken and the pig. See, I remember
no. The chicken and the egg I've heard.
Yeah, the chicken and the egg. Yes. Yeah. This one was it was sort of, it was a management way of explaining the chicken is involved, right? Because involved in the company, so to speak, because it lays an egg and it keeps laying an egg and it keeps laying an egg. But the pig is all in. It's totally committed. Right? Your kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so and the manager was sort of saying, we need more people that are committed, more people that are all in. Until somebody pointed out, the pig's dead.
Oh my God. Where is this going?
I want my employees to be well, right, and healthy, and stay involved in the organization, right? I don't want them totally committed to the point where they're burned out, they're fried, they're quitting, they're disgruntled, right? Yes, involved, 100%, right? And that's all we should be able to expect, right? But this whole, you're absolutely right. There is this thing of people that, 80-hour work weeks. The last organization I worked with, hardly anybody ever took a lunch break. They worked through their lunch break. The curse of the Blackberries that came out, and then everything else that evolved from that, extended the time when bosses could get a hold of their staff members now.
Or emails, you being able to respond to an email.
Yeah. Off hours. What happened to off hours?
We're not looking too far back. And I know very well for, personal sad reasons when this started. I think the first Blackberries were like maybe in 2006, 2005, right? And it's not that far away, right? It was like 17 years ago. Oh my God. Now that I say it, it does sound a little bit. Have I not adjusted to this new culture that we're in? Maybe. I'm like, it's been a little bit, I admit it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it in my lifetime, right? It's something that I stepped into unaware and just had to adjust to without really knowing how this was going to affect us, right? We just stepped into it and just went with it. But it has greatly changed society and the way we interact and we work and the level of stimuli and the level of stress even that you're under, because now if you don't respond to that email within a couple of hours, there's like that feeling that you're not on top of it, and so
what are you missing?
Where you're missing and you didn't respond and you got to get back, and there's all the anxiety that's built around that, right? And it's on text, right? Text is a new thing, right?
Yeah.
And Messenger and Telegram and WhatsApp. And, I was describing to you all the different ways that people got a hold of me today. And it was fascinating. I'm like, wow, here's WhatsApp. Oh, look at my Telegram. Oh, look at my Messenger. Oh, look at Facebook. Oh my God, Instagram. My text messages, like, wow, somebody actually called me too. Right? It was intense, right? And it was in a very good, and I was overwhelmed in a very, very, like pleasant and happy way.
Yes.
But I was like, look at all the different things that I normally would just shut off and just like, block out because they're a distraction. And those are all the ways that everyone that loves me, used to reach me today, right? They're like, you're not getting on Facebook, you're not posting. Okay, we're going to find your WhatsApp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
there's so much of an expectation in that too. Like we've, it's almost, it's that whole boiling frog scenario, right? Where the frog is sort of sitting and like, this is cool technology, right? It's like, and you're kind of swimming nicely in the water but you're not realizing that the heat is being turned up incrementally to the point where it's like, oh my, you're right in the thick of things. And you didn't even realize that you're so caught up in, like you said, all this technology that is surrounding us. And the need to show accomplishment, to show how much you're doing. It's almost like if you're not doing something, you're not growing, you're not all this kind of stuff, right? So it's we've really created some unique belief systems over the years.
Did we create them? Did we create them, or were they just fell into our lives in a sense, right? We just accepted them, right, and took them in.
Well, that's part of it, right? And that's a bit of a group, a groupthink phenomenon in the sense of
it's
like
collective conditioning.
Yeah, and I can't remember, like, we were getting back to the cell phone sort of thing analogy. For me, it just seemed like I went out the house one day and everybody had a cell phone. It was like, how does that happen? Right? Like, how does that happen? Like you just come out and it's like everybody's got one all of a sudden, right?
Please don't tell me that you have a home phone. Do you?
I'm not going to tell you. Why are you laughing?
Okay. Because I feel like my children don't even know what a home phone is, right? And that's the reason why I asked that was like when I grew up, right? I'm 45, right? We established that. When I grew up, there were no cell phones, right? Your friend called you, I'm going to meet you at this time in this place. And sometimes you just waited and no one showed up. And then after 5-10 minutes, you just left, right?
Yeah, you just left. No big deal. No big deal.
No hard feelings. I missed my bus or whatever it was. Later, when you got home, she called you and she's like, I missed my bus or something happened, right? Yeah. But today, oh boy, if you don't respond to that text message within, what is appropriate, then feelings get hurt and, like there's people create all sorts of stories around that, right?
There's too much sensitivity.
Yeah, you start creating and you start getting in your head and, depending on what obviously the call or the message is, but.
Interesting. But, so back to our subject of time, because we are running out of time. Are we?
No, yeah, right. It's only 22 minutes in.
And so I have, particularly over this last year, been experimenting with the whole notion of relativity to time, and the notion of that it really is there. It's an illusion. Like time to me is an illusion, and I kind of have a bit of a funny story. My dad had an appointment, so it's a scheduled appointment, right? So it's on the calendar, and he had to go in for some eye surgery. So it was kind of important that we be there on time. And so even though I do have schedulers and all that other kind of stuff, I kind of rely on my little inner GPS to kind of give me a nudge about, oh, I think it's time we should go. Because I know that it takes X amount of time to get to the appointment. Well, I said to my dad, I said, okay, Dad, let's just going. Well, he's right in the middle of his breakfast. And I know how long it takes for him to get ready. Like, he's 91. And he says, yeah, I know. I says, let me just finish my toast. And I go, oh. So right away, I'm going into my head. We're going to be late, kind of a thing. And that's my signal. You talk about kind of being overwhelmed. I know. And this is just like one example. So I basically said, no, let's just see what happens. We're not there yet. I'm projecting into the future of, we're going to be late. They're going to cancel us. We're going to have to rebook for another 6 months, all that kind of stuff. Right. I just let go of it. So I think I told you, I read a book by Joe Bailey called Slowing Down to the Speed of Life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that title.
Yeah, I do too. And so we get into the car, we start rolling on. I look at the clock on the radio, and we've got about, it's 20 minutes to the appointment, and we have about 30 minutes to drive. Let it go. Let it go.
Let
right?
it go.
Right?
It's not projecting. It's just how time works.
let's just drive, right? Let's just drive. So I get on our highway, and I'm going a little over the speed limit, okay? Because I want to, and it just feels comfortable too. I'm
talking. We got a ticket.
No. Actually, this is kind of a weird one. But anyways, I think I'm relaxing. I'm letting go. I just sort of, okay, we're going to get there when we get there. Let's just see what happens. And the book title comes into my head. Just slow down to the speed of life. Just slow down to the speed of life. So I kind of look around me to see what's happening, get very present. And I notice all these cars are passing me. Like, not just one or two, but all the traffic is passing me, right? It's like, and I'm going, maybe I should speed up to the speed of life. It's like,
you were the guy blocking traffic.
I'm the guy blocking traffic, exactly. So it's like, but I'm looking at the speedometer. Like, I am over the speed limit, but like literally everybody's passing me. So I pick up speed. No word of a lie, Fatí. I can't catch up to these people. Like the traffic flow is going faster than I am, and I'm picking up speed more and more. And all of a sudden, I start laughing out loud. And my dad said, like, why are you laughing? And I said, I don't know, but look at the traffic. I can't keep up with the traffic. I'm speeding. And he says, well, everybody's going to an appointment. And I guess so, kind of a thing. I couldn't believe it. I says,
that's so funny.
We got there on time.
No, you didn't. What?
On time.
How fast were they going?
I don't know. I mean, we came into town, so everything had to kind of slow down naturally.
10 minutes is a lot to make up for.
I know. And again, like maybe my dad's clock was wrong on the car. I don't know, right? But I got there. We got there on time. I had a parking spot right in front of the freaking door of the place, kind of. So, but I mean, for me though, this whole notion of slowing down to the speed of life, because that's where overwhelming comes from, is that we get so caught up in our heads about how fast things are going, not realizing what the real speed is in the moment of now. And when for me, it's sort of like, I got to sort of like step back a little bit and go, okay, like what I'm so far ahead of my steps of all the different things I have to do. I can feel the anxiety. I can feel the, almost a tightness in my chest. That's my signal, right? Feelings. I need to slow down to the speed of life. And what is in front of me that needs to be done, that needs my attention right now. Right now. No, not 10 minutes from now, not one day from now, but right now. And the more I've been experimenting with that, the more I feel more grounded, and productivity has been naturally happening. Like I cannot believe what I like. There's two phenomenons that I learned in project management. One is we underestimate the time a project will take.
Always. Yeah.
Yes. Always.
Yeah. Design is the same thing. Like, it's going to take me 2 hours. It takes like 7.
Yes. So we always underestimate the time that it takes to do something, and we underestimate our capacity, or we overestimate our abilities, kind of a deal. But what I've noticed, though, getting back into a present moment and doing whatever's in front of me, and then doing the next thing and doing the next thing, and then coming back and going, oh, 10 minutes has gone by and I've taken 3 things off my, like, just being not aware of that there's a time crunch, or there's awareness of time, how much stuff I get done. Like
because by staying present, you're getting yourself out of the anxiety zone, right?
Yes.
Anxiety equals disempowered state equals not much gets done, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's why we're not so efficient with our time and we don't get much done. It's like, where did the time go? It went into your anxiety.
That's
You went into looking at the clock and relooking at your list and relooking at all the things you had to do, and then feeling lost and then feeling overwhelmed by it, and then you didn't get any of it done. That's where it went. Yeah. So I love that you shared how you get things done just by bringing yourself back to stay present. Just do it. Just stay with it. Yeah.
And that's really what it is. And how do I, which one do I pick? Like, which one? Really, it's I just use that inner GPS to sort of like point out. It's sort of like you just know that is what it just feels right.
And you know what? And I like that you mentioned this too, because there is such efficiency in really following the thing that's coming most natural in the moment, where you're in that flow, where the creativity or the energy or the, your attention is going towards, and like sometimes just let go of the calendar. It's like, well, right now I was supposed to do this piece of it. Yep. Right? And you force yourself into following your calendar. It doesn't work often, right? Because we're just in a different zone in that moment. Yep. We're not going to be as efficient if we force ourselves into that versus if we stay where we're naturally like gravitating towards, right? And kind of following the flow of where we're at versus imposing a specific schedule or like structure to our day. So I love that.
And on, and when you look at,
I'm going to do this for a second. I'm listening.
Okay.
You know me.
Okay.
You know, I got to do this.
Oh, right. Yeah. And it's getting earlier all the time.
I know it feels claustrophobic after a while to have all that white. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. It's a better natural light on you anyway. But the other notion I've noticed too is that I have a tendency of chunking the things that I need to get done in not in bite-sized pieces, but in big chunks.
Right? Yeah, that works for me actually.
Well, it works kind of in the opposite for me, in the sense of like when I do I was on this 30-day challenge. Actually, I guess I'm still on. In 30 days, what do you think you can accomplish in 30 days? So the part at day 1 on December the 1st, you had to list all the different things you kind of wanted to do on your to-do list, like all the things that you thought you could do, what you wanted to do, anything, So I wrote things like, do my online, complete my online course, write a book, write all these different things. But when you looked at what the list looked like, there was a lot of big things there, like big chunks, right? Like,
okay, so I get what you're saying now,
yes,
and I meant it in a different way, but go
yes,
ahead. Yeah.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but so when you analyze what, and this is where the overwhelming comes in, because you look at that list and you go, oh my goodness, there's just no way I'm going to get all that done. And you're absolutely correct. You're not, right? You're not. That's the whole trick, right? We have this illusion of our capacity, and yeah, I'll just do an all-nighter and all this kind of stuff, right? But when you're present, what ends up happening is you do the thing that's the first step. Whatever, like, so you look at say writing a book, right? I want to write a book. Well, what's the first step, right? Like, I don't know, pick a title, whatever it is, right? It's the first step, right? So that's all you need to focus on, not writing the book, but what's the first step, right? So it's like, so I started looking at some of these different things, like, and as I started to do only the first steps, it was amazing how much was being accomplished in such a short period of time. Like within a week, I was well into some projects that I probably would have been doing on the very last day that they were due, kind of a thing, So
because you took several first steps.
Several right? First steps.
Yeah.
Steps.
Yeah.
So there's something magical about that. And
then again, I agree.
You can't do it while you're worrying or in your head, and and besides, I've noticed too is that the steps that you think are going to happen in the future, 9 times out of 10 they don't, because
they don't. Yeah.
After you take the first step, things change, and then after you take the next step, things change, right?
Yeah, but to point out to my comment, right? Because I think it is actually a very important point.
Sure. Yeah.
What I was referring to was task switching within a day, right? So it's not so much chunks of things that I have to do, but I find that for me personally, it's a lot more efficient if I stay on the same task longer than if I break it down into 1 hour here, 1 hour here, 1 hour here, right? Yes. It takes the brain actually some time to switch from one task to the other. So for me, when I'm already in the flow of a certain type of work, it's a lot more efficient for me to stay in it for a good chunk of time than just switch completely over and do something completely different. So I have actually recently changed my whole calendar and the way I organize my week in based on that. On Mondays I just do this. And Tuesdays I just do this because it's more efficient for me. Obviously there are going to be certain things that you have to do every day, right? If you're coaching, those are going to be when they're going to be.
Yes.
But creative work especially, I find that for me creatively, I need to be in the flow. It takes me some time to get going. And then once I'm in it, if I disrupt the work, then I can never pick it back up from where it was, right?
No.
So the momentum really matters.
I got a question for you though. And I'm curious because I have a bit of a sort of the same kind of experience about, once you get into a flow, right? So you're in that state. When what is your signal, or when do you sort of like, okay, that's enough of that?
When it starts becoming a flow, when it stops becoming a flow, when I have to put a lot of effort into keeping it going, then I know it's done, right? Yeah. But flow is super powerful because it's effortless, right?
That's the beauty of it. Exactly.
It's effortless.
Yes.
So for as long as it feels effortless, I want to give myself the time to let it be. Yeah. And it does eventually end, right? Yeah. You do eventually just run that thought or that project or that creative idea out. You've tried all these different ways of doing it, and then you're okay, I'm done with it. And I'm good moving on, right? And sometimes there's something else that comes after that because I am in that flow state, in that creative mode. And sometimes there's not. And I'm just like, now I'm just forcing it and it's just not sounding as good or looking as good. And it's just not the same. And that's when I'm just like, I'm good with that. I let it go.
And that to me is so fundamental in the whole time management piece, is the whole know when to fold them and know when to hold them kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, it should be effortless. It should have a natural flow to it. And when it doesn't, those are the kind of the signals that, you know, maybe it's time for a break, you know, and it doesn't mean that you can't go back to it. All it's saying is, you know, the flow is not there right now. And the more you try and force it, right? We had talked about that earlier. Like, it puts you in a bad mood. If you're in a low state, you know, your activities tend to produce low level results.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, optimal, we always want to be in a flow state. So when you notice that you're not, and you get a nudge, you know what? I need to take a break. I need to go for a walk. I need to have lunch. I need to do this. I need to go whatever. For me, it kind of removes me enough. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to get back to that. And then I get back to it and it's like, oh yeah, there it is again. Right. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're finished that step or that project
No.
or whatever. Right. And it could be like, it could be that that's done for the day. Right. But you're absolutely correct. There is that feel of when it's right. And then when it's time to.
I mean, you know, the closest thing that I can equate that to for myself is design, right? That's where I
Yeah.
really, you know, I really feel in flow when I'm coaching. So different though, because there's an interaction with another human being. But when I'm designing, right, that in a coaching session may go a little over, but it's never going to go 3-4 hours, right? Which when you design something, I could go on and on and on for multiple hours. And
Yes.
often my flow
Yeah.
was disrupted by my brain being tired,
Yeah.
by brain fatigue, right? My brain was just fatigued and it
Yeah.
was no longer connecting the same way. I was like, oh, wait, I'm just spinning now. You
Yeah.
know, I would start spinning and like try the same thing. And I was just doing the same thing slightly differently and not really finding peace with it. And I would do what you were saying, just
Yeah.
leave it, walk away from it, and sometimes pick it back up, sometimes pick it up another
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
and get back into the flow of that, you know, design idea or the project that I was working on, and maybe pick it up and take it into a completely different direction
Well,
sometimes, right?
you don't know, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, so from a time perspective, right? It's so time is finite in the sense of there's a, you know, there's a 60 seconds in a minute, and you know, everybody gets that clump of things, right? It's the activities that we do within those allotted times that makes the fundamental differences.
Yeah.
And so it's not managing time. What you're really doing is managing the tasks that you're doing, right? So, so one of the key things that I always coach for others, and I know you do too, is you have to find you in that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you what my system is, like, you know, and there's so many systems out there, like the one I originally attracted to was one called Getting Things Done, and I forget what the guy's name is, Gary something or other, that wrote the book, and I thought, yes, that's what I need. I need a good system to get things done, right? So, and there's a big following. You know, the GTD community is quite large, and there's a few things that I got out of it, in the sense of, and I still do today, actually. You know, managing my emails, right? You know, so I can quickly go through my emails, and it's basically sorting, you know, kind of a thing. And then you go to your to-do list, and it's sort of, it was good, but there was something that wasn't quite me in it.
Mm.
And so we all have preferences, right? We've all, like, this is why no two people are created equal, even if you live in the same household, right? And so we develop preferences over time, how we'd like to have things done, how we'd like to. And I think, you know, what you point to is when things don't feel like they're working, like there's something that it's angst, it's time to look at, well, that system isn't me. If it was me, there would be more flow to it.
whenever something's not working, is that signal.
Exactly, right? Exactly. But you got to find what works for you, right? And so it's not about, well, what would you recommend? It's right. Well, what are you attracted to? Like, if you're attracted to visual things, maybe a visual calendar might be handy, kind of a thing. I don't know, but it's really about your preferences, your learning style,
your language, your learning language,
Yeah, all those different things, right? But we are always, and this is why they're so successful in bestsellers and various other things, because we're always looking for a technique outside of ourselves, not realizing how much wisdom we have within us for developing our own systems.
Also known as a shortcut to hack time.
Yeah. And when you slow down or speed up, whatever it is that you need to do.
We're always looking for ways to make the time more efficient, a shortcut in it, right? We're always looking for the new technique, the new way to streamline this and streamline that and do this and do that.
Right? It's got to be right.
And yet, time is still there, still the same.
It's
may or may not exist.
So one thing, I know this is a sort of getting more on a serious subject, but it has to do with time. And one of the things that I realized, and as I get older, it's starting to creep in more and more, is our physical presence. And as you've experienced many times too, is we don't know when the switch is going to be turned off, so to speak, right? And your birthday and all the different accolades and well wishes and the love that was pouring to you in what I call the tsunami, right? It was this really warm blanket of love that was on you is sort of like, my biggest wish is that we would not be afraid to do that more often.
Yeah.
Right. To share the impacts and love that others have had on us, and vice versa, kind of a thing, right? Like why do we need special occasions? It just seems yeah. So that's my Christmas wish this year.
I mean, I love that you pointed to that, right? That we all need more of that. And I think that what I realized actually this birthday, and part of one of the very overwhelming thoughts that I had was the fact that some of these people have expressed that to me throughout the year, right? Yes. And it really wasn't, it was special because it was my birthday, but it wasn't the first time that they did express that. And it kind of helped me kind of like review my year, right? And just really look at it. It does speak to the power of numbers, right? Because many of these people in my life have expressed that to me throughout the years, but when they all came at me at once today, from the moment that I woke up, still going now, it's like receiving all the love at once, like a tsunami, like you were saying, it has an impact. It has an impact. It just, I'm feeling all the love all at once, and it's overwhelming in a really, really good way, in a really, really good way. But I love what you're pointing to. There needs to be more of that shared throughout the year, right? And I know that as coaches, we do that, and we encourage that, and we're really open with our feelings, right? We have big hearts, and very aware of all this. And because my coaching community has grown over the last year, and I feel closer and closer to so many of you included, right? It just really warmed my heart to receive that kind of love from people that I work with, because that is new for me. I didn't have that in my work life before.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
quite the opposite, honestly. So, yeah. And it just validates my choice to kind of shift my career into something that really feeds my soul,
Yeah.
and not just my creative side, and follow something that feels on purpose, that feels like my mission in
Yes.
life,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And still be a designer, still be creative, and
Oh,
still
absolutely. Yeah.
have that,
Yeah.
right? No one's going to take that away from me. And I was for so long attached to that identity because I had worked so hard for it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I had the degree, right? And I couldn't let it go, even if it felt miserable. The industry honestly felt really miserable to me. I didn't have this kind of love in my life from the people that I worked with. And so that was a really big point of difference for me, in the last couple of years. But as I go on coaching and we get closer and get to know each other more and more, obviously the bonds are like tighter, and
And,
they're
and you also bring like when you talked about your like career shift thing too, right? And we were talking about having possibly a guest coming on in a future episode about
mm-hmm.
talking about career shifts and things. Part of what I find in change management, in coaching people in change, is that there's a reluctancy, because time again is that whole illusion, right? Is that is that I have invested so much time in this.
Mm-hmm.
How it's almost like it's money, right? It's like I've invested so much into this. How can I now switch gears? Like it's sort of like did I just waste all my time, right? And I never think, and I've never experienced wasted time. Like I don't believe that there's such a thing. Like you're always, even if you're lying on the couch, if you're enjoying yourself, it's not wasted time. Okay,
Yeah.
because if that's where you need to be.
But you're
But there's
right. There is not only just this sense that you have wasted your time. There's this sense that you're wasting your talent, your knowledge, like what and your identity. All this time that I
yeah,
spent building my identity as a fashion designer,
yeah,
who am I going to be without that?
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah,
How can I just now be a coach? It took me a long time to let go of that and call myself a coach. I was like, I'm just trying this coaching thing on, not a coach. I remember even saying that, right?
mm-hmm.
I'm just seeing how this fits and if I like it, which I believe it was the right way for me to test it out. I think we all should try things on before we decide to buy them
Should
or
always
wear
try it
them
on.
for a long time, right?
Yes,
So that's kind of
yes.
how I
I
shifted as
decided to wear this shirt today. Yeah, try it
there
on.
you go. There you go. You tried it on and you kept it.
I
But
kept it.
yeah, it's like, I tried it on and because I feel like I didn't really try this fashion design thing on before I committed to it, right? As a younger version of myself, just got the degree, or I'm creative. I like that. It sounds cool, right? I'm going to do this. And then when I really tried it on, I was like, oh boy, this is very different.
Yeah.
Reality out of school is very different than what I thought it was going to be. In my dreams, what happened?
Oh, I
Where
know.
is my
Same
dream?
with paramedic school. It's not the same. It's not the same what they say in
Yeah,
the textbooks, right?
exactly.
But there's another thing. There's another side to that too, right? Is the so we talk about, okay, so did I just waste a bunch of time? The other part is that, well, how much time do I really have left? So there's this sort of thing, like if I make this shift, like like how long is this
So
going to
true.
take? How long is
Yeah.
it? So I know we're running short on a little bit on on time, because we want to honor our commitment and our integrity, um, but when you throw time out of the equation, you're left only with this moment, and there's an infinite amount of moments. So
Mhm.
if you're looking to try something, try it in the moment and moment by moment, because there is no time limits. There's no time restraints. There's nothing that has to get done by a certain moment. So, if if you're overwhelmed, if you feel stuck, look to see if time is part of that equation. And just ask yourself, if time wasn't part of this equation, what would I be doing? What would I be doing differently?
I love that.
And just experiment with that. Just explore that, right? So it, but in this case, time is
try to remove the time piece out of it and see how it lands and see
how it lands. Yeah.
How you experience it. Right.
Well, that's all you get, right? And the worst that you can happen is you'd have an enjoyable experience, and if it turned out to be not what it is, well, then you can always go back being miserable or whatever it is you're in. It's like, there's always that option. You can always go back, right?
You can always go back. You can always keep rehearsing and reliving the past.
Well,
right?
We are practicing all the time. Right. I mean, we say to the medical profession or any, service industry, it's a practice. Right. Well, we're never to get it right anyways. Like we're always practicing. We're always practicing. You can never get it wrong. It's just in your head that you get it wrong. Right. So try stuff out, like in this case, let's take time out of the equation and just see what happens.
I love that. I'm going to try that this week.
Yeah, me too. Well, happy birthday. I know you've got some special people you got to pick up and
I do.
Pick up the rest of the day for you and
I have a dance-a-thon to attend in my living room with my little ones.
Nice.
And cheesecake.
Oh, New York cheesecake.
Cheesecake, yeah, with strawberries. They've already picked the whole thing. So I think I'll redirect them to cheesecake when I break to them that we're not going to be going out to dinner. Like, how about cheesecake?
Oh, that's great. All right. Well, thanks everybody for
thank you, Ken.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken, for joining us and everybody else that joined us. And next week, I think we're on next week, right? We still got next week to come on. Just looking next week, and just there's a few days before Christmas, and we'll stay tuned to what the topic will be. I know we talked about a couple of different things, but we'll touch bases over the weekend and just make sure that it feels right still.
Okay, sounds good.
Right. Bless you.
All right.
Have a good
Rick.
one. Bye-bye.
You too. Ciao.
Ciao.